So, I strongly believe that there's no one path to achieving your goals. It all depends what goal you have, what you set out for yourself, but things didn't happen exactly as I thought and as I planned, of course. And good thing is I was able to not have a full-time job ever and to be able to do what I love. So recently I got a comment on one of my stories on YouTube asking about kind of my story, things I went through. And apparently a lot of you guys want to hear about that a little bit more, so I thought I would share it today and share exactly kind of in three phases what I went through. Things that were easy for me in trading and kind of how I evolved over these past 5 years and a half of trading. And we'll go back in time. I'm heading to Merida today because I'm finished here with Progreso and I have to catch a flight tomorrow, but we'll go throughout the day and I want to share these things over time. The point of this is not to kind of share what I've been able to achieve, but more kind of what I went through and things I had to realize myself. And hopefully this can help you kind of know what to work on and what you have to change for yourself. So let's go back in time to phase 1. I started to trade Forex in 2013. I opened an account. At this time I didn't even know what I was doing at all. I had an account for Forex, but I was also interested in stocks. So I opened a stocks account to be able to kind of invest and make money long term. But I didn't really know what trading was about, what investing was about. And for me it was just a matter of making money and trying to show the people that I was able to invest and trade well. Of course, as you know, it didn't really work that way. The first 2 years of my trading were pretty much without much progress. I learned a little bit, I went through some courses, I watched a lot of videos. I then started to research strategies, things I could do in the market. And as you know, this is not how things work really well because you get overwhelmed pretty fast. I had been hearing about the fact that you needed a plan in trading and things to organize everything, but I thought me, I'm definitely smarter than that. Definitely can make it without a plan, and so that lasted a long time. And the interesting thing back then is that I was actually studying in supply chain management. This was a bachelor in commerce, and I did finish it. But I remember at a point where this might have been the summer. At some point, I was studying that summer, and I had opened a couple of trades on the S&P 500 because I had a kind of strategies back then, a little bit with engulfing candles or something of the sort, and the setup was there on a pretty high time frame. And I opened a couple of trades, and then I'm not sure what happened, but I reopened multiple trades when price went back down and when it formed other engulfings and stuff like that. That lasted a few days until I got the email from my broker saying that I was about to get a margin call, and when you get a margin call, it's all your positions get closed. So it means that you have too much of a position for your account size, and that was my case back then. Even though I was pushing only maybe 2% per positions, but it was just too many positions and stuff. And so eventually I told myself that price will come back in my favor, the trade will unfold pretty well because the setup was there. So I really believe in it. And then I got this email a couple of days after saying that my position got closed because price was just way too low and I had way too big of a loss. And that's pretty much my biggest loss experience ever. I think I might have lost 20% of my account, but I don't want to fix the number because I'm not sure at all. But that was a big loss at that time for me. And I kind of stopped trading a little bit after that. I didn't really know what to do at all. I tried to research a little bit more. But what I didn't really grasp was the fact that I had bought a course that was teaching me a strategy and I would apply it in the market and it wouldn't work. This puzzled me. This I didn't understand. And it took me a long time to understand that this is not how things worked. And to kind of fix that problem, I remember reading at some point, not long after, the book Trading in the Zone by Mark Douglas. This had been recommended to me on different videos, different podcasts, different blogs. The first time I read it though, I didn't understand a single thing. This just went all through and I didn't catch anything. Just went blah and nothing happened. I didn't understand the concepts. And I think the same thing happens with a lot of people. They read that book, but then they're not ready to learn that book yet. And they're not ready to apply the concept that they hear or read in that book. I had the audio version at that time. Link below if you want to check it out. It's really useful. So that was it. Now, throughout my studies, I had this chance to do internships. And actually it's a chance, you'll see why later, but at that time I was working in different companies. Every session I had to do like an internship, so study internship, and there were like 3 of those total. Now the first one I worked for a pretty big company in Canada, Montreal. This was an aircraft manufacturer. I worked there for like 3 months or so, and I kind of like the experience was good and stuff. But what I was really excited about was my next semester. I was doing a student exchange in Hong Kong, so I was really like chill about it. That was like the first time I was like traveling and being in a different country, different culture for a long time. So I went there, did that study for 6 months, and this is really where I think part 2 started in my trading journey. I had this kind of experience of like traveling and looking at the charts a little bit, but my trading was really limited. I was like not trading that much because first of all the schedule will be different. I'll have to adapt to a new time zone, which was the opposite of before, and I had a hard time with it at first. That was not easy, and I kind of put it aside, saying that I would be getting back to it later. And anyway, my best way and best chance of making money back then was internship and not trading, so I kind of put it aside. I started to work a little bit on different things. I focused on my studies for that like 5-6 month semester, and I said I would just get back to trading after. Until one day I saw this meetup happening in Montreal. I was looking for like trader investors meetup in Hong Kong. It happens I only saw one in Montreal, interestingly enough. And I told myself whenever I go back to Montreal, I'll sure have to do that event and try to see what's happening there. Because I thought I could learn a lot from going to meetup and meeting traders. So in fact I did go for my first time in July 2015. And now I really have to leave this hotel because like it's 12 now and checkout's at 12. But when I get to Merida, we'll talk about that more. So let's get to the bus station. So phase number 3 starts there. I went to that trader meetup the first time. Like I told you before, I learned way more in 3 hours of being with traders than 2 years of reading books, watching videos, listening to podcasts, and all that stuff. Even though these things I truly believe are good, they're not really helping you move forward sometimes. You kind of have a lot that you learn from, but then you cannot really apply it, and that's a big problem. And the question I had after this event was, how can I still learn a lot, still progress, even though the meetup is not like every day, it's only once a month? How can I still progress? And the answer I came up with was hiring a coach. It made a lot of sense back then because I didn't really have anyone to keep me accountable and teach me what I needed to know. And so one of the members of the meetup in Montreal was an ex-institutional trader. He worked in multiple banks, studied a lot in the past couple of years, and he taught me a lot of really interesting things. Of course I had to pay him, but that was completely worth it. There were a lot of things I was doing right back then, but if you ask me, my strategy was really bad. It was only something I had to do with like candlesticks and indicators a little bit, and that's it. So it really didn't work that well. And where this coach was useful is teaching me things that I didn't know even existed. Things like the market context, how to think, things like journaling, how to track your trades, how to divide your trades. So really good, I learned it back then. Not long after being with that coach, I started my podcast. And it was I think 2015 or 16. I want to be able to surround myself even more with traders and learn even more. So you rarely can learn everything from the same person. You have to be surrounded by many people to learn different skills, different things that they're all good at, and being able to apply them yourself. This led me to be able to look back and realize I had been profitable for a whole 10 to 12 month period in my trading. My ultimate goal was back then to be able to jump to trading full time right when I finished university, my 3-year degree. But I had back then what we call a reality check, where I was sitting with a trader one day and he told me, well, if you want to make it full time, you'll have to find more capital. Even himself had in his account $100,000 to trade. And that took him over a decade of working full time in a pretty big company to be able to acquire that capital to trade. Now, I didn't really have an answer for what I was going to do. My two options were basically working a full-time job for some time and being able to get money to be able to trade more, because I sure knew freedom was important, and freedom was the thing I wanted the most back then. The other option was being able to trade for fun or other people, but I didn't really know how. And then one day I was again at this trader meetup presenting about breakouts, and at the end of the event a trader came up to me and he said he had an office where he was trading in almost every day. He invited me to come over at some point and visit him and see what he was doing, and I did. A few weeks after, at the end of our meeting, he offered me some capital to trade for his own account. And of course I didn't know if I was gonna say yes or no exactly, because this was something new to me that I wasn't really experienced in. But I said yes, and I said I'll figure it out. So I'll go slowly, of course, and try to scale in over time. This only lasted for a few months, but eventually I was able to save money from my internships and money I earned from trading for that person, and I had now my own capital to trade. In January of 2017, right after I finished my third year of university, I flew to Shanghai for my very first trip while trading. It's the first time I come to Shanghai, and I'll see what it's like to trade here, what it's like to live from here, and travel a little bit as well. So that's pretty much a quick update. So I strongly believe that there's no one path to achieving your goals. It all depends what goal you have, what you set out for yourself, but I've been able to make it, and things didn't happen exactly as I thought and as I planned, of course. And good thing is I was able to not have a full-time job ever after university, which is a good thing, and to be able to do what I love. So comment below if you have any question about my story, things that I might have missed out, because I'm trying to kind of remember this on the spot. But let me know your thoughts below. Give a like on that video if you liked it today, and I'll catch you back here for my trip back to Canada tomorrow. Oh, and comments of the day. Here are a few comments from the past video. I appreciate you guys as always for leaving comments, and I'll catch you back here tomorrow. Ciao.